The April meeting of the Parks and Rec Board. And why don't we start by standing for a Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from our March meeting? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Tammy, announcements?
Announcements for April, there are a lot of them. A lot of things going on in April. Board of Commissioners meetings upcoming will take place on Monday, April 23rd and Monday, April 30th, which will be a special meeting to recap the budget planning discussions to date. And Monday, May 14th, and they'll all be held here at the Radnor Shire Room at 7 o'clock. The next Parks and Recreation Board meeting will take place on Thursday, May 10th at 6:30 p.m. here at the Township building, unless otherwise noted. Both the Recreation Department's winter and spring brochure is still available, and the spring Township newsletter, which you all have probably gotten mailed to your homes. Hopefully, if not, you can grab a copy on your way out. I want to take an opportunity to thank the Wayne Art Center for working with us closely to provide the picture, the painting that ultimately became the cover for the newsletter. We're real excited about it, working with Hometown Press, a new company this year, and excited about the brochure and the Township newsletter and looking forward to it growing and expanding. Registration is now open for Radnor Day Camp and Summer Tot Lot. New for 2012, you can register for both of these programs online at radnorrecreation.com. If anybody has any questions about that and going through the process, they can be sure to call our department at 688-5600. The Delaware Valley Orienteering Association will have an orienteering event at the Willows Mansion. They'll meet at the exit parking lot at the Willows on Saturday, April 14th from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock p.m. A community cleanup will also take place at the Ithan Valley Park on Saturday, April 21st from 10 to 1. Radnor Middle School's Watershed program will also host a community cleanup on Saturday, April 21st at 10 o'clock a.m. at Skunk Hollow. The Darby Creek Valley Association Stream Watch and cleanup program will take place on Saturday, April 21st at 1 o'clock at Skunk Hollow. An MS Society Walk will take place on Saturday, April 21st at Radnor Corporate Center and Radnor Elementary Schools Complex. The Radnor Girl Scouts will have an Earth Day presentation open to members of the community on Sunday, April 22nd. And that's going to be from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock p.m. at the Willows. A Rain Barrel Workshop will be held on Sunday, April 22nd at 2 o'clock p.m. at the Radnor United Methodist Church over in Garrett Hill. The annual Arbor Day tree planting ceremony, which will celebrate 20 years of Radnor Township being a Tree City, USA, will take place on Tuesday, April 24th at 6 o'clock p.m. Everyone's going to meet at the Friends of Radnor Trails Park, and we'll walk out to the planting sites that will be along the Radnor Trail. The Chester Valley Sportsmen's Association's 15th Annual Youth Trout Derby will be taking place Saturday, April 21st and Sunday, April 22nd at various time slots. They'll be fishing there with the derby they'll be fishing with the trout derby at the Darby Creek at Sawmill Park. And the rain dates, of course, would be the following weekend. That is a registration that is in person, so we would ask folks to come over to the Township building at the Recreation Department to actually sign up. It's an in-person sign-up only. The Katie Sampson Lacrosse Tournament will take place on Saturday, April 28th at Radnor High School. We're also planning a Clemacrone Park sign dedication ceremony for Saturday, April 28th at 11 a.m. Details for this are still being finalized. You can look for some of those. We'll get a message out as soon as we can once the final announcement is made for that event. Project Tree Vitalize, per grant, is being coordinated with several plantings by the Radnor Conservancy on Sunday, April 29th for the community over at Clemacrone Park from 12 to 3 p.m. Our department's summer registration kickoff will officially begin for all summer programming on Monday, April 30th at the Township building. At that time, our recreation brochure will be available for summer. We have a 38-page brochure right now that we're working on. It has an array of different activities, camps, some new camps planned, and events as well. So be on the lookout for that. It'll be on the website that day, as well as available in person in our department. And we're also taking registrations currently for two very popular trips that fill up quickly. A trip to the Philadelphia Phillies on Friday, August 3rd versus the Arizona Diamondbacks. And the U.S. Open, another very popular trip with our department, U.S. Open Tennis Championships in New York on Friday, August 31st. For more information, always feel free to visit the website at radnorrecreation.com. We make updates on a weekly basis, and you can find all of our department's information there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any comments or questions regarding Tammy's announcements? Okay, why don't we roll right into the activity report?
For my activity report, I'm going to actually do something a little different. I'm going to show you guys a slideshow. A lot of you may have already received it in your emails, but wanted to do something a little different just to sort of celebrate a great event that we had. March was a busy month for us. We had a lot of events and activities taking place. We closed down Radnor Youth Basketball. We closed down Youth Wrestling, Griffin Volleyball, our popular programs. We also worked very diligently to open up our day camp and tot lot registrations, as I had mentioned, and that was a month and a half early for us. We had that event where parents were able to come and go at the Township building on Tuesday, March 13th, where we actually received over 35 registrations that day, tallying more than $30,000. So it was a great day for us successfully from that standpoint. So that made for a busy March, and of course we were getting ready for our spring extravaganza, which was in its second year this year. We were very excited about it. We actually had the event take place over at Radnor Activity Center on the field at the middle school last year. We had about 50 participants that took place. We had very limited marketing at that time. It was a first-year project for us. This year we made a transition. We moved the park over to Clemacrone, which is a very exciting neighborhood, vibrant, young community, and we estimated about 1,000 people that attended the event. So it was very exciting. I just wanted to show you guys a little slideshow that we had prepared. We're trying to get in the habit of doing this when we have our major events from year to year or seasonally as they come about, just to put forth the compilation and, like I said, a celebration of what we've accomplished. The event took place on April 1st, Sunday, April 1st. It was free for everybody in the community. We had egg hunts. They took place on the main field at Clemacrone Park and behind the Comfort Station area for various age groups, infant to 12. And we had a children's band. We had bounce houses. We had Wayne Art Center was there, and they were doing crafts with the kids as well as mainline school night. So we had a lot of activities. One of the things we tried to do new with our events was to include members of the community, and we were very fortunate enough to have many participate this year. Radnor Fire Station, Bryn Mawr Fire Station, as I'd mentioned, mainline school night, Wayne Art Center. We had the Radnor Historical Society. They came out and they put forth their photos and depiction of 20th century Radnor that everybody could walk around and take a look at. We did that out on the basketball court. We also had members of the Garrett Hill Coalition and the Bryn Rose Association who supported us and took part in the event. They helped us sell the event and hand out flyers throughout town to get people to come out for it. So it really was an exciting day and great for us because we were finally able to bring together a myriad of different groups to participate in it, which really made it more like a community event versus just an egg hunt. It couldn't have been possible, of course, without our sponsors. Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services put up a significant amount of money, Penn Liberty Bank, ING Financial Partners, and Kumon Learning Centers. And we also had Hers and Snyder's donate bags of popcorn and pretzels for the event. So it was great. A lot of people had a good time. Like I said, one of the big things for us lately has been our marketing. So we really saw the fruits of our labor, so to speak, because we've been doing a lot more with electronic e-blasts, weekly notifications, monthly notifications, things like that, more postings on the website. So we really saw it as finally a year where everything really came together for us. We were able to get information out in a timely manner, and the weather cooperated, which made it a terrific day. And having, like I said, the community groups take part was really what made it significant. In addition, we had some volunteers that we were able to get from Villanova University and Rosemont College. They came out, they helped us set up. It's really amazing the setup that goes into an event like this. Our program coordinator, Tiffany Heilman, and I were there that morning. We were getting boxes unloaded, things like that, to get the park set up. And then our volunteers, of course, helped us out immensely. We couldn't have done it without all those people. So I want to take an opportunity just to thank everybody. It was a tremendous event. We want to thank everybody in the community who participated. We want to invite them back next year. We're going to keep it at Clemacrone. We think that's a great home for it. And as always with any of our programs or events, if there's things that people see that they think we need to improve upon or things that we could do better, we encourage them to call us and let us know that so we can continue to move in a positive direction. So thanks to everybody who participated. Just a couple of other things that we've been working on in our department really has been concerning our budget. We've been putting forth a lot of time doing some strategic planning, particularly in the recreation and event planning areas. We've been formulating just a concept plan of where we're going to be headed in the next year, 2-3 years with our events, and trying to project out. All of the staff actually at the Township have been participating heavily throughout the process of the 2013 budget and planning process, evaluating their anticipated revenues, expenditures. We had a couple of planning meeting days with all of the departments where everybody took part. It wasn't just the department heads, it was also the supervisory levels of the departments that participated. We had a lot of brainstorming informational sessions where we were coming up with ideas for new revenue streams and things like that moving forward with the township. So our department's been focused a lot on that throughout the month of March and early April, of course, and then also assisting the Public Works Department in some of the capital planning needs for the facilities and such that we anticipate, will be on the horizon in the months to come as we take steps towards that budget process. With Radnor Activity Center in March, we did have a significant amount of rentals, which was great. We had 11 rentals that actually, most of them had consistent days, and they are actually running into April. We also continue to utilize the facility as best as we can for our programs and for the community programming. Bless you. No problem. We also, I've actually been meeting with some companies to identify some possible upgrades for the facility, like pricing for dividing wall and new bleachers and things like that. Again, all steps towards the 2013 budget planning process. Authorization was given to the Public Works Department to receive bids at the Board of Commissioners meeting on March 26th for the roof and for the building code items. So I know Steve's been working a lot on that, and pending the school board's authorization to move forward on that, I believe on May 8th, we'll start to proceed to receive that information so we can understand what those costs look like. We're also still closing out a grant that we had received from DCED for that facility for programming, which we had spent in 2011. It was in the amount of $5,000, so we're working on that. The Willows Mansion actually had one event in March, and we had 7 events that are actually scheduled for April. March of 2011, we had 4 events, and in April of 2011, we had 8 events. And actually, I didn't provide you with an outline of the revenue that's been generated to date, because we're working on a new process of realizing and check and balancing that with our finance department. But as of right now, the revenues aren't that far off of where they were last year. They're actually ahead by about $3,000, but it's when we get to summer that we actually see the drop-off there because of the amount of weddings in June, July, and August being reduced significantly. And I know we're going to get into it in a little bit, but I had notified everybody that Mary and Tom Conahan are actually going to be terminating their lease of the mansion. They were caretakers that have been in the facility for more than 30 years, and as of early June, they're actually going to be moving out of the facility, and they're responsible for a significant amount of things that go on there, particularly Mary as the director handling the day-to-day and operations. So they're going to be greatly missed, and in the meantime, we'll be working on a process on how we're going to move forward as a result of that. To transition, talk about the parks just briefly. I know Mark and his staff have been working hard in getting the fields in great condition. The weather's been cooperative, which has been terrific. There hasn't been a whole lot of need for continuous emails about field closures and things like that, which has definitely been great this spring due to light rain, although on the flip side, the rain's, I'm sure, definitely needed. I'm sure we'll pay for it at some time. Hopefully not, though. So they've been working, on getting the water turned on and everything in March, which has been great, and getting everything up and running. We've been scheduling with a lot of the community groups for usage, as I'm sure you guys saw when you came in, Little League game going on down at Enki. So there's a lot of usage that's taken place. They also have the mulch program ready for residents, which is available for free at the Willows, Emlentonell, Philippone, Fenimore, Hartford Park, Skunk Hollow, and Itham Valley, of course, while supplies last. So, be sure to get out there and get your mulch if you're looking for that. It's really a great service that the guys provide. For the Cowan Park Comfort Station, bids were received in late March for the construction of the Cowan Park Comfort Station, but throughout the process, there's a pen bid online system where folks have to go on, the prospective bidders go on to submit their documentation, and because the low bidder actually had forgotten some items that were needed, we had to have all the bids rejected, and that was done actually at the Monday night Board of Commissioners meeting. And right now, authorization had been given to go back out to bid, so I know Steve is working on that, so we'll be getting those back again. I guess over the course of the coming weeks. We are on a tight timeline to turn around that project because the deadline for the grant expenditure and closeout is on June 30th, so I know Steve's been working quickly to get that turned around. And then finally, just Radnor Memorial Park. Turf field is getting ready to open here soon. It's in the final stages of completion. We're working closely with Agnes Irwin School on the operations and the scheduling, of course, for that facility, so it's very exciting. Very exciting for our department and for the community as well. That concludes my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Tammy regarding her report?
I just had a question about the Radnor, or the finishing up the Agnes Irwin turf field over there. Is there any more fallout from that lawsuit?
There's nothing that I'm aware of.
So that's not something to worry about.
Not that I'm aware of at this time.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I know Mary was not able to be here. Mary and Tom are not able to be here tonight. Is it possible to maybe get them to come to our May meeting so that we can acknowledge their service for 30 years with the township, in a public setting, and in this meeting I think would be appropriate.
Yes, I have them scheduled for May 10th, I believe, is our meeting. And kudos to the slideshow that you had with the spring extravaganza. Super job with sponsors and the community groups, and it's great to see the Rosemont and Villanova volunteer groups with some of the students there helping out, and I'm sure they really kind of helped make that a great success. But kudos to you and the department, and that's great to be able to have that type of promotion here at this setting, so that the township and all the folks can see that. So thank you very much. Our Public Works Department also played a key role in that as well. I just want to point out, those guys go and they drop off all the tables and the trash cans and the chairs and everything, and I've lifted one of those 9-foot tables before. They are heavy. Well, not by myself, but they're very, very heavy. So I just wanted to point that out, that they definitely have a role in that as well. So certainly as our events increase, so does the time that they spend relative to that as well.
It looks like we made you made the first front page of the Suburban, so that was great stuff there too as well. Great job. Okay, why don't we go through the various reports before we jump into new and old business. Anything on Shade Tree?
No activities pertinent to the Parks and Rec Board.
Okay, thank you, Pat. School Board?
School Board at our last meeting at the end of March, 4 things worth mentioning, not necessarily relevant to Parks and Rec, but I'll just mention them. Radnor Middle School has been nominated for a Green Ribbon Schools Award by the U.S. Department of Education. So that was very exciting, and we are looking forward to finding out the outcome of that. During our school board meeting, we passed a resolution permitting political campaigns on school grounds during school hours. This is a policy that had been under tremendous scrutiny over the last year plus, and the policy was voted and approved at the end of March. We also had a rather robust discussion about full-day kindergarten, the end of which was to send the matter to the newly formed Strategic Planning Committee of the school board, which will take it up and continue to evaluate it. There are some very significant issues with regard to cost and benefit. And then finally, we received a budget update, but more pertinent, this coming Saturday at 8 a.m. at the School Board Administration Building, we will be having a budget meeting open to the public, and we certainly encourage the public to come and take a look at the board and deliberation and discussion over the final proposed budget, which we will then vote on for good in May. But this is probably the most significant meeting with regard to content and perspectives. So that's 8 o'clock Saturday morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Do we have any committee reports? Anything from EAC? How about John, and anything on the commissioners for an update with you all?
Well, the thing you'll be most interested in is the commissioners approved that for Steve to prepare bid documents for the improvements to Sulpizio and the Willows. So that's moving forward.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm sure there's a lot going on, but not with regard to Park and Rec.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Why don't we start with, why don't we go into old business and the installation of the small baseball or t-ball field there at Ditmar in the practice area. Mark, do you want to touch on that? Or Tammy, do you want to?
I can tell you as far as, we met out there last week, or the week before, I should say, with Steve and Paul Totaro, and Tammy was right up after us. Did some assignments as far as measurements and stuff like that, and they're a little concerned about the safety issue as far as putting up the backstop. It's a good idea. It's only 120 feet from where the backstop would go, approximately, and to the trail where the people walk in the parking lot. So Steve and Paul were kind of concerned about, it's fine for when the kids are there and stuff, but if you put the backstop up, right, you're when we're done, you're inviting kids and other kids to come play and do what you need to do. So the liability and the safety issue is a big thing right now.
Is a concern. And I guess just to recap, I guess Bob Nicholas had come to the township asking for the possibility of making a t-ball field with a backstop and possibly even some cutouts for the baseball bases in the corner of Ditmar. And we've had some discussions. He's gone out to the field with some of the township staff. And Mark, you're commenting to the thoughts and the opinions of what you guys are seeing, and probably need some further discussion and or
Some more research.
with regards to actually putting this, and
Yeah,
whether
it's
actually
you know,
that is the best possible place.
And then as the soccer and lacrosse play there,
Right.
that's their warm-up field. So they're concerned about, if the cutouts are there, somebody could fall, or there'll be a time issue as far as having the,
Okay.
same time as they're playing and stuff like that, so. And then
guess,
you're also concerned about the residents,
Tammy, did you want to touch on that at all, or that Mark pretty much covered it?
Mark pretty much covered it.
Okay.
I know Bob Nicholas would have liked to have been here tonight, but I believe he's at a business
And that's fine.
obligation. So I know he still would like to speak to
My
the
guess is
matter.
he'll go back, regroup, and, possibly come back. I guess my initial thought would be cutouts for sure for T-ball seems to be a little bit excessive in that area, and whether that's really necessary when we're talking with that age group, and whether we really need to go that direction. But obviously, there's other issues and other thoughts that are being taken into consideration. So anybody have any thoughts or comments regarding the
One question
proposal?
we had indicated last time was if Bob was going to check with the near-in neighbors. Do you know if he accomplished that, and what's the reaction from those close
I
in
haven't heard
neighbors?
from Bob as far as talking to the neighbors. We did get an email about Wayne Elementary, and them 2 fields there are
Okay.
sufficient, and, I mean, of course, there's always never enough fields, when
So it's
you're-
still an unknown within how the neighbors
Yes.
Well,
are looking
I
at this?
think, I'm sorry, Mark, I think he did speak with one of the neighbors.
One of
And
them,
sometimes I'm having conversations with Bob Nicholas
okay.
that these guys necessarily are not, just, given logistically where we are. One of the neighbors actually is a parent of a little leaguer. or
How
baseball
many
player, so I
neighbors
think
would
there
we
was
be talking
support,
about?
But I
One,
think there's one or
two?
2 other neighbors that still need to be.
Yeah. I
So
think-
have the
total, you
situation
would say like
discussed with-
4 neighbors
Yeah,
who
'cause
would
the
be
church- The
affected?
church is on the other side of Valley Forge Road, and the 4 neighbors are on West Wayne there.
And to follow up your
Or
other
Maplewood, I
comment,
should say.
your concern from the safety standpoint is not when Bob and the T-ballers are using it, it's when you're setting up
Exactly.
a facility here that's
Well,
going to
if you-
attract
you
other
put up a
people,
backstop, you invite
They're gonna
them
be
right in. It's just-
unauthorized people using it.
And
So,
it could be anybody, there's nobody policing who's on the fields as far as,
and that creates the issue.
yes. And then the parking lot, like I said, we measured.
Mm-hmm.
We went out and walked off everything, and it's an issue. People walk, and somebody gets hit with a ball, car's window, and then right away, we're liable as
Okay.
far as the township.
Tammy, is it just T-ball, or is it also rookie?
There was an indication, I think, in the original request that there may have been some beyond T-ball level of play, but I believe when Bob was here and he spoke to the matter, I think he had mentioned that they would try to restrict it basically to T-ball players. But I don't know how that will be policed and how they will regulate that. So, my recommendation would just be if this does move forward, there would have to be some way that we monitor that and put some type of check and balance in place. I would also be curious, I don't really know off the top of my head how the older age, I guess, within the T-ball or older ages, how far can they hit? Because 120 feet really isn't that far. If we're talking about, reaching the walking path that goes around Ditmar A, it certainly would be concerning. And I think there's
Yeah.
some slopes also on the edges of the fields that had particularly our community development director concerned.
That's where my concern is. Once you're moving from T-ball to rookie, that where the shortstop, third baseman would play on that side of the field, there's that quick drop-off. And those kids at rookie can hit that far. So I when you're doing rookie, you want to have cutouts. At T-ball, you don't really need cutouts, so that may provide an opportunity for a compromise solution.
Sure.
Is our risk really increased by having, kids playing there on off times? We mentioned the soccer players and lacrosse players are over there warming up. Lacrosse players can throw lacrosse balls, and they can go out to the trail, and they can go out to the parking lot as well. So I'm not sure that our risk is increasing any by having
I agree with you. I
a
don't think it
backstop
is.
there. I don't see that as if we're going to do that, then we can't let anybody play there.
I agree.
So I don't think that should be an issue we should be concerned about.
Well, the question I have with,
Right, these guys are having some trouble with the microphones. Here, you raise.
Hey, Jim?
Oh,
there you go.
Oh,
Well, we've heard the legitimate safety concerns. My question is, sorry I wasn't here for Bob's presentation, but what's the impetus in terms of need for the additional space? I haven't heard that. I mean, is it numbers driven? Is the T-ball enrollment higher? I'm just curious What's driving this, this consideration to put that field there?
I would have to work with Bob Nicholas to find that out. I know that there was a parking convenience as well. I think it made it easier for parents to get to the field, given the, the location of the parking spot there versus some of the other fields, like Wayne Elementary and Ethan Elementary, with regards to parking. So I know that that was one issue that was brought up. But in terms of what you're saying, we'd have to work with him to understand there's an increase to numbers or an impact as a result of perhaps loss of use at other facilities, which I think has actually occurred because there is some use that takes place, I believe, at Agnes Irwin School, as well as one of the other locations where I think that there's been a little bit of a pinch of time. But I don't know how much weight that there is to that given Bob's approach.
I guess just to be fair, this is really just an update from our last meeting and kind of give an update as to what the status and what's happened over the course of the last 30 days so that everybody's kind of up to date. So obviously more to come on this topic as Bob gets more information and brings it forward to us. So anybody else have anything on that? Why don't we go to new business? Tammy, you want to maybe just give us an update as to what's transpired at the Willows?
Sure. I had met with Mary and Tom Conahan actually last Wednesday, and they had presented me with a letter of notification to let us know that they were going to be terminating their lease. They currently have a lease of the Willows Mansion upstairs apartment area where they reside, and also have a caretaking arrangement for the Willows where they oversee the facility from a security standpoint and whatnot. And then Mary, as you know, serves also as the director for the facility. They wanted to present us with a 60-day notice to terminate their lease. They do intend to move out of the facility in early June. And with that, as I had mentioned before, it does leave some cause for us to evaluate where we go as of early June, because Mary's role especially is significant from a management standpoint and engaging with clients and managing contracts, meeting with caterers, things like that, and just overall day-to-day responsibilities of the facility, like handling phone calls and whatnot. And then, of course, from an event setup preparation standpoint, there's a significant amount of items that go into putting together the tables, the chairs, the layouts, and things like that, especially when a client actually uses those that belong to the Willows and don't rent them from an outside area. So, I wanted to obviously bring it to everybody's attention. The Parks Board has been notified. The Board of Commissioners have been notified. So it is certainly surprising to us, and Mary and Tom, of course, will be missed greatly. I know that they've been with the facility long before I've gotten here, and have had significant footprint in the history on how it's come about.
Do we have any estimates on how the rentals are going for the Willows for the rest of the calendar year?
I do. I know that there is a drop-off as of summer, but to give you some type of an idea, we have weddings booked in August. There's 1, 2, 3, and this isn't a full update, but let's just say between now and the end of the year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, really 9 weddings that have been arranged, along with various other functions like auctions and community organization rentals. Our department, of course, in the summer has a significant amount of camp use, so that, of course, could be overseen and regulated with our internal staff. It's more the nonprofit organization and wedding events that would be taking place there, but and as you all know, Mary's been working diligently to try to restore bookings at the facility, so not only is she receiving inquiries currently for 2012, but for 2013 as well.
Tammy, is it the intent of the township to continue the same kind of an arrangement? It sounds as if it's a joint apartment rental and job, or is that the correct understanding?
The lease is actually separate from the job arrangement that Mary has. Not aware of any type of, there's nothing in the lease that obligates Mary to being the director of the facility. I think that's just a separate arrangement that has been made, and a byproduct, of course, of her being there.
I see.
And folks who used to be the directors of the facility retiring. So I don't know if that
Well, it
answers
just,
your
it was
question.
mostly.
So they are separate.
If we have to hire somebody, or do we have to hire somebody who wants to live there, is I guess the question.
Well, I mean, the first question is, do we have to have somebody there?
Okay.
Does somebody have to be at the facility 24/7? I mean, right now, we don't have security on that building, which is
Okay.
part of the reason why they're there. So there's not a security system, over at that facility in any part of it. I know that there's, I think there's just locks on the door, basically, essentially. So from that standpoint, we would have to evaluate, do we want to make the investment in some type of a system at this point? But I think before that, we've got to look at, the overall future of where we're going with the facility to make that determination if we want to put that type of an upgrade in there. And I'm not sure what the process is for how we need to move forward with that.
Will we have to do renovations to the apartment? Would the intent be to re-rent the apartment?
That's not a decision that I think I can state or make at this time. We definitely would have the need for some type of management of the facility, whether it be through a part-time person or somehow coordinated a part-time person with our department, or perhaps looking at some of the arrangements with outside companies. I know we have some outside companies like Open Air Fairs, who was here to visit us a year and a half ago, that still have interest in the facility. There's some catering folks that have some interest in the facility in terms of taking it over. But again, they could come in and help us manage the facility and take care of a lot of the day-to-day, requests and such that come forth from an administrative standpoint. But again, the question of the security still remains as to how we would want to proceed there.
But the township would do something in the short term following early June, I would assume.
Right now, there is not a plan, and that's part of what we need to discuss.
Are there security cameras at the facility that tie into the police station?
No, not presently.
And there was a theft there, is that the copper downspouts?
Downspouts, yeah.
That's a pretty significant expense.
Correct. Obviously, short notice, but any thoughts, discussions, John, as to what the sentiment is amongst the commissioners? It would seem that we've got to establish some type of objective and some goals with regards to what and how we're going to possibly move forward. What the thoughts are of the commissioners before we can
This
have any
issue really
discussion.
hasn't been in front of the commissioners.
Right.
What I'd like to suggest is perhaps your May meeting, we could have it as a joint meeting with the Parks and Rec Subcommittee of the board, and we could kick some of these ideas around. We've had vendors come in and give us proposals. Maybe we could have those vendors come in again so that the commissioners and your board could see that together.
What discussions are ongoing within the township with some of the community groups that have expressed interest, and are they potentially further along than we're privy to, or are you?
No, not really. In fact, no matter what we do, we probably need an interim solution. I would guess that should we be successful with, we've been talking with the Wayne Arts Center, that's no secret.
I mean,
We're talking about something that probably is a year or two down the road, just to do it properly.
How serious is Wayne Arts Center? I mean, I don't know.
Fairly serious, I believe.
Okay.
But one of the things we've been discussing with them is the need to do some public outreach, do some listening sessions, invite the public in to talk about what they see for the Willows. Individually, I mean, I have my views is that we want to maintain it fully accessible to the citizens of Radnor, and we want to still be able to rent it for parties and those kind of things. That's not inconsistent with the ideas that the Wayne Arts Center has. So it's an evolving idea, and I think like I said, we'll have a meeting with your board, but then I want to have some public brainstorming sessions. The fancy name, I think, is a charrette, where you get people together and you talk about the ideas and put something together. But meanwhile, we do have to pursue a shorter term, 1 to 3 year plan.
Question, Tammy?
How about more of a 60-day plan? I mean, you know, Mary's here till
Yeah.
June, so when she leaves, and obviously somebody's got to take over the responsibilities of what she was doing, and you know, we're entering.
That's a day-to-day management issue that Bob's going to have to deal with.
Okay.
Tammy, just so I'm a little unclear, they rent an apartment in the Willows Mansion, and their rent is subsidized by the fact that they keep an eye on the place 24/7?
They actually have a lease. I don't know if, I think it's like $1 a year, one of those types of leases. It's not, they're not
Okay,
paying.
so-
and
So they
monthly
live
rent.
there for free, and
And they oversee the
keep an eye
facility,
on them.
yes.
that's
And Mary
actually-
gets paid to be the director.
And then separately, she is an employee of the
Yes.
township as a director for the Willows facility.
Yes.
And then, isn't there a building on the way into the grounds as well?
The cottage.
The cottage. Is the
It's
cottage
separate.
rented, or?
Separate.
It's separate.
And
And
that's-
right now, it's not being utilized by a tenant or anything.
So that's-
And
like
again,
you
that
mentioned.
is part of the discussions that we will have,
To try and
Yeah.
rent that cottage out, or what we want to do with that cottage?
what we want to do with the cottage. I mean, we just put $250,000 of grant money into the energy upgrades. And we are right now going to be going out to bids to paint the exterior. So we are moving forward with that. So that would also be part of this whole visioning and concept process.
And following up on what Fenton said, I see 3 major things. One, that has to be taken care of within a 60-day period, is security. And I think that can be affected in some of the services that are out there at a probably low dollar cost relative to what we're paying them already to watch it. So that could be addressed. The other one is maintenance. Do they do much maintenance there, or would it, not really, because don't you guys pick it up in the township?
That's probably township related.
Yeah,
I think-
so,
I think
then the other
there've been some
issue that I
The
see is
custo-
having.
No, the custodial on the inside of the
When
building.
you're saying cleaning in the inside of the
They
building.
do that. They handle
do
that. They do that.
Maintaining bathrooms and
Yes.
things like that when it's
Yes.
used.
And minor repairs too, I think.
Yes.
And minor
If
repairs?
there's light fixtures and things like that that need to be repaired, things to the staircase and things like that, I know that they take care
minor
of that
painting.
stuff.
I see the
like that.
major issue in the short term, whether it's 60 days, 90 days, or a year or two out, is having a person who is almost like a banquet manager who will manage the activities and coordinate the weddings and other outside things that are going to take place there. And you have to have somebody in place by the end of June to do that.
Well, remember, again, that is the task for the manager. Tammy's got a department that may have to pick up the load,
Okay,
but it's
Some
not, it's
aspect
not being overlooked.
Yeah.
okay.
Otherwise, we just announced a vacant mansion in Radnor
And come get it.
in public, yeah.
We also have the event supervisors that work under Mary. There's Betty Hainan and a couple of other folks that are there. They're kind of on call to help and assist and to
Okay.
come out and supervise events and such. I mentioned Betty because her role's a little bit more significant in that she does help Mary with office coverage and things like that. So she has a better understanding of, you know, what to do when the phone rings, you know, what to do when a contract comes in or something like that. So what might be, you know, a short-term solution, I don't know how short-term, but short-term solution would be for our department to work with her to pick up some of that, you know, from a day-to-day basis. But I know that it will be a significant impact to us from a day-to-day standpoint. But, you know, like John had mentioned, it's something that we would have to arrange with the manager. Maybe we would need to engage another part-time person perhaps, or utilize in internal staff.
And John, is there an active committee? Now, Fenton, is there a subcommittee of the Parks and Rec that is picking up
Is it
this
facilities?
responsibility and doing something
It's
with it?
facilities, I believe.
And-
I believe it's a facilities committee.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but was it Mary or someone attended every facility or every event that was at the Willows?
There's an event supervisor at every event.
Right.
And that's the way, I mean, there really hasn't been any change over the years. We used to have Sandy and Nancy.
Okay.
Who did it for years. And Mary used to be one of the people that would cover events for us. And then she, basically evolved into that position. So that's not new to us. It's just
But
losing
was-
a real valuable asset.
But was she the one that primarily did the attending of the events for the township, at those events at the Willows?
No, I wouldn't. Not
Are you talking about Mary?
Yeah.
Before she became director, when Nancy and Sandy had retired,
not-
she
but
was
not-
that
okay.
person. She was that person, probably one among a couple of others as
Yeah, there
well
were
that did that.
3 or
And then
4.
she evolved into her director position when they retired.
Right.
And then we had hired other part-time staff that then became the event supervisors. And then she would manage, when they worked, and communications about what was going on at the particular event and such that they needed to be aware of. So there is definitely a role there. Right now, Mary's role is a part-time role. She works about 3 to 4 hours a day. And then, of course, whatever addition on the weekends, if there's a client that wants to come in and see the
Right.
facility but can only come in on Saturday, she has those types of arrangements as well that she engages.
Okay.
Is there a job description for her job and for the event planners that, we'd be able to review as a committee?
Yes, I had worked with Mary in the last year to develop that, so I can send that to you guys.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, well, let's certainly keep this one close to the agenda and have discussions going forward so that we can address this, because certainly there's some objectives and goals that need to be clearly identified for what this facility is going to represent and how we're going to go forward with for the future. Next is the discussion on the status of the athletic field fees. Tam, you want to touch on that real quick?
Sure. We have fees that were approved within our 2012 consolidated fee schedule relative to the fields for adult usage, for baseball, soccer, and the like. And then, of course, there was the fee that we have discussed relevant to community sports organizations, the $10 per head fee, and then there was a $15 per head fee. Those were 2 new fees that had been revealed within our fee schedule for 2012. Those, I think we discussed it at the last meeting. Those were rescinded by the Board of Commissioners at the February 27th meeting. And I know that we are all eager now with some understanding of how we're moving forward with the school district in terms of their fee schedule. That it's my understanding that that was actually approved at their school board meeting on March 27th. So I think that there's some detail that's been given on that end, as far as I was made aware. And at this point, what we're looking to do internally is now revisit that fee structure and put forth a recommendation on how we want to move forward within how we rent, if you will, our athletic fields. So that is something that I've actually been doing a little bit of research on, doing some cost comparisons in terms of how facilities are rented nearby, particularly with regards to private usage, organizational usage that's not necessarily the youth sports community. We would like to put forth a recommendation within the coming months that revisits that fee schedule. So that's where we are presently.
Tammy, what was the reason for the rescission of the approved fee schedule by the commissioners?
John, can you speak to that?
We felt that there was so much uncertainty and confusion about how we were moving forward with the school since the dissolution of the school fields maintenance agreement, that it was introducing a level of concern in the sports groups that and confusion. So we felt we could afford to suspend that fee as we work out the details. They were actually, they were in a position of not knowing what they could do in the summertime. It was threatening the basketball program. There were, what are we doing in the fall? So that's our goal, is to have this ready so we can implement it for the fall programs.
So a lot of the fees were originally designed around the notion of fields being scheduled for organizations for usage at both the school district facilities and township facilities. So that fee structure was designed around that idea originally, and this goes back multiple years. So obviously with the with the grounds maintenance agreement disbanding, at that point, it left us in a position to reevaluate that, so that is actually delivers something that's, in the case of the sports community, affordable to them, and as well as a lot of the other organizations that are on the fields, like the adult softball program.
In our discussions and evaluating and coming forth with a recommendation on the athletic fields, the original field schedule approved did not earmark those fees as being directed toward the use and maintenance of the fields.
Correct.
Is that something that we're able to discuss, or is that a non-starter for the township?
A fee that would be designated as a maintenance fee or something in the nature as a non-starter.
So what you're saying is that we're charging the participants for the usage of the fields, and that money is not earmarked for the maintenance of the fields?
That's right. Well, we're not charging. And again, that's what we're trying to work through is,
Well,
Although that may have been the perception.
Let me restate that then. The original position was that the athletic usage field would not be earmarked for the maintenance of the fields.
right.
And is that a non-starter for the township going forward?
We've been advised by our solicitor that if we collect a field maintenance fee and call it that, that it increases our liability. So what we're talking about, hey, this is a reality we live in. The idea is that the fee is, although not earmarked, is going into the general fund and paying the bills. It could, we're actually looking more at what the staff time is associated with the administration of those programs than we are the maintenance of the fields.
Because the primary issue with the field organizations, or the sports organizations rather, was that they make substantial payments in kind to the fields.
Right.
And to have that fee then be charged limits their ability to make those sorts of contributions. So their belief is on the net that the park and recreation programs will actually be losing as a result of the implementation of that fee.
Some people have suggested that. I don't know that we've ever done a comparison to determine if it's correct. But we are reevaluating the entire structure.
Well,
Again,
part of the concerns
Are
of
you
the
asking us to reevaluate the structure, or are you?
Tammy's doing it. She'll bring it to you folks.
Okay, fair enough.
You're there to advise us.
And
on
part of the
board.
concern initially, too, was with the fee schedule being proposed by the township and the fee schedule being proposed by the district, both happening simultaneously, created a situation where there was significant concern. As a result of it, we had
Financial
3 to 4 significant meetings where there was discussions that enabled the sports community representatives to come out and discuss their concerns, because they saw that as a significant impact to the contributions, as you're talking about, to the township as well as to the district, and saw that as delivering a significant impact that they did not want to pass along, or continue to pass along to their users, of course, as a result of increased fees.
Another thing that's come out of this whole discussions, especially with the school district, as you remember when Enki was constructed, there was a commitment by the sports groups to collect a $10 per person fee as a field replacement, a turf replacement fee. During our discussions, we determined that we didn't have a similar thing for the high school field. And I'm drawing a blank on the name.
Prevost?
Prevost. So we've been talking about literally restructuring that thing, so it's just called a turf replacement fund. Neither of those fields, Enki or Prevost, would have been approved by prior boards had that not been for that commitment.
Question for Susan and John. Given the knowledge of what the school district is paying for maintenance of the fields, is there any potential to reopen grounds maintenance agreement with the township, given the knowledge of the maintenance costs being paid outside?
There's always that opportunity. However, I would note that the work that's being done under the agreement, the service provider for the school district is less than they were getting from Radnor Township.
You know, I don't sit on the facilities committee, so I am not intimately familiar with the details. I would say as a matter of philosophy, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be able to. I mean, I know that from the beginning, it was a disappointment that we were not able to come to terms with the township. There was nobody on the school district that was happy about that.
I would agree.
So I think the answer, without stepping too far out of bounds, would be yes, absolutely. But I speak for myself and what
Yeah,
I
I
would
agree.
think.
I'm
I'm not speaking for the other eight.
I'm just posing that question out in public and thinking that might not be a bad idea and a bad
And if you
solution.
ask Bob, that's the answer you'll get. We're always willing to entertain that, which is, as always, the devil's in the details.
Okay.
John? You mentioned earlier, in regard to that, the prospective user fee, that would potentially put the basketball program in jeopardy. You said, why is that specifically, why the basketball program?
More than anything, it's because of the amount of time they use at the high school.
It's not just the basketball program, it's actually all the programming that
but
takes
that
place
was-
at the school district. Because I've been working closely with Leo the last couple of weeks as a result of that fee schedule that's been passed, and we've been going through and putting the calculations together. The way the fee schedule is laid out is it's based on a 4-hour time block of usage. So there's a fee, let's say, $5 for a 4-hour time blockage of usage. So for a program like Radnor Day Camp, for example, we use like 6 classrooms, and we use them for 8+ hours a day, depending on what's going on the given day within the camp. So, in that case, it's block based. So, whether we'd use 6 hours within that block or 8 hours, we still would be charged for 2 blocks as such. So I've been working with Leo to assign those costs based on our usage and based on our time frames that we're proposing to be in the facilities. And the costs are enormous. They're significant. And when I say that, it's just because we've never had an actual cost before for those facilities. We are definitely seeing an impact to the overall margin for these programs. And it will affect basketball greatly, as it will the day camp program, the tot lot program, and some of the other things like the babysitters training and stuff like that we do where we use classrooms. I know, in looking at the fee schedule, it is a minimal fee for usage of some of these facilities when you look at it, but when you do add it up across all of the hours that we have, that we depend on the school district for, it is a lot. So that's where we've been, is coming through that process and understanding those costs.
So the fees that the recreation department will pay for those programs that more or less exclusively use school district facilities, basketball, for instance, and, well, maybe the tot lot. But if those fees are going to be assessed, how will they be covered without assessing a fee to those users?
Well, indeed, there would have to be an impact to the fees to the programs. And over the last couple years in looking at this, and even looking at it relative to the formulas that were being applied within the grounds maintenance agreement, although there was no transaction that actually took place in that arrangement, we looked at those costs, and we have begun the process of trying to increase those fees over the last couple of years. So we have had incremental increases that, as of right now, and looking at those programs, the direct costs are capable of covering. But the difference is that now there's actually going to be a transaction. So our budget, from an expense standpoint, does not have those assumptions built into them.
You have a virtual savings in not doing the maintenance on the district fields, correct?
Yes. Yes. But to give you some idea, I mean, for Radnor Youth Basketball, for instance, based on the usage that we've had in just this past season, so 2011, 2012, less the service fees, which is my understanding that are also going to be charged on top of the fee schedule, which are for security support, maintenance support, custodial, things like that. We're already at over $14,000 in new fees that the program will see. And again, that doesn't include those other areas. Those will come as a result of Leo's further assessment in terms of what those entail. So, and that's a $50 per hour charge that is on top of that fee schedule.
If you want to see this, it's on the school district website. If you go to school board and then the meeting on the 23rd, it was the approval of the thing was just a line item in the consent agenda, but there is an attachment that shows exactly what the fee schedule looks like. And if I weren't half blind, but I've got it here.
Yeah, and there's a classification system.
Yeah, it's class
that
A
have
and
been
B, no
developed, and the
charge, and-
township right now fits in the C. So if you do take a look at that, we are being classified as community youth groups, so it's Class C.
Class C, okay, so for example, theater, $20, gymnasium, $20. This is at an elementary school.
For a 4-hour time
For a
block.
four-hour time block. The most expensive one, let's see, middle school
Auditoriums.
auditorium, high school auditorium, that's $100. Black box theater, $50. Main gym, $40. Auxiliary gym, $20. I'm just kind of flipping through here.
My thought was a couple things. One, the fact that the school board has approved their fee schedule for the upcoming budget. We thought that it was important to bring this up for discussion, even though we weren't involved in discussions when the fees were originally approved for the township. I also know that it appears to be an important issue for some of the commissioners to bring this back before them, and I also think that this board felt that they should be somewhat involved in the discussions going forward, given the discussions that have taken place already. I know that Tammy is taking a look at the fees that the school board has put in place and approved, and working to potentially put some fees together that maybe we can take a look at and have discussions on, and then potentially make a recommendation to the commissioners. Does that summarize where we are, what's taken place, and maybe where we're going from here?
Yes, the only piece that I would say to that would be a little helpful is just to identify exactly what, we are trying to cover. I mean, I know that the maintenance is not necessarily the item or
Right.
items that we're
Is it-
looking to cover, but is it the administrative time? Is it the permitting time
Is this-
that?
Yeah, and to your point, is this covering administrative costs, or is this a revenue generator?
And that's what we need to identify.
And that's a question for the commissioners, so that you have direction on what and how we need to proceed. Anybody, any thoughts?
Obviously, I can only give you my opinion. I don't speak for the
Okay,
board.
that's fine.
I'm a firm believer that our athletic programs are part of the quality of life of Radnor Township. And when you look at these various surveys that are done that got us Best Place to Live many years ago, it was about a 75-page document that the Parks Director had to fill out. Right after the quality of the schools, which is the most influential thing, right below that was Parks and Rec. It is very important to the value of our homes. And communicating that to people, I mean, when I talk to people in my ward, I get no pushback on funding Parks and Rec. So, but that's one commissioner speaking.
Okay. Anybody else? Next on the agenda is the Board of Commissioners 2013 Budget Plan Discussion, special meeting on the Township Facilities and Infrastructure on the 24th of May. Do you want to touch on that real quick?
Sure, this is actually a request item that the Parks Department and the Public Works Department and, of course, the Recreation Department have of the Parks Board. As you all may know, there is a 2013 list of different budget discussion items that are happening at the Board of Commissioners level each month. One of the topics that is, of course, near and dear to our hearts as Parks and Recreation is the discussion that will occur on May 24th for Township Facilities and Infrastructure. And what we'd like to request is to get your input on project needs that you see in and around the park system. We're going to ask you to submit 5 or so projects, more if you would like, by email, perhaps, to Steve and myself, to tell us, what projects you think should be part of any type of a 5 to 10-year capital plan that you think are important, comfort stations, fencing, any particular park amenities, dugouts, upgrades, things of that nature. We definitely want your feedback, as that's important and key, so I want to encourage you to take a look at the facilities if you can, and give us those recommendations and that guidance, because that's going to be important as we put that together and identify those numbers as we go through the planning process.
Okay, and you'll send out a request with us to put that list together?
I
and submit-
can.
Okay, great. Anybody have any other thoughts? Any public participation? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We're adjourned.